Can you see and hear me?
Yes, again.
Oh, okay. Can you please state your name for the jury?
My name is Corey Straubein.
Do you have an occupation?
I do.
What is that occupation?
Currently with the state of Wisconsin. I work with the EMS section at the state community EMS coordinator.
You're the EMS coordinator now. Were you employed in 2019?
Under Tri-State Ambulance, yes, but not under state.
So you were working for Tri-State Ambulance. Did I hear that right?
Correct.
Is the microphone, can you test the microphone?
Yeah, tell you what, we're having a little problem with it. Just try to get close to it.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Oh, there, perfect. If you do it like that, I won't have to ask you to speak up. I appreciate it. For your employment, do you have any special education or training for that?
Yeah, so paramedic at the time would have been a 1-year fast track program. Typically takes about 9 months, and then clinicals. I did that down at Madison College. Before that, I was an EMT for about 9 years, which was about a semester-long course, and then another semester for advanced EMT. So I did progress from EMT, advanced EMT, to paramedic.
And in 2019, you were an EMT or a paramedic?
I was a paramedic.
What is the difference?
There's a lot more that you can do in terms of advanced cardiac life support, so different medications, advanced skills, basically just more advanced skills and practice, and then just being able to go through different things, algorithms.
Now, I guess when you're a paramedic, are you like on duty? Do you have regular hours, or how does that work?
Well, that varies depending on where you're at. With Tri-State, I was a full-time employee. I was on a power truck working 12-hour shifts. It was usually 2 days on. I think it was 2 days off, and then 3 days on, 2 days off. So it varied quite a bit.
Were you either working or on call or on duty on the morning of February 23rd, 2019?
I was just coming on duty at 6 o'clock that morning.
Did you receive a call for service of some kind?
Our dispatch did page out for a call at that time.
Not this particular call, but when you get a call, any call, I guess, what are the kinds of things that occur or happen before responding to a location?
So with Tri-State, we have a paging system. It'll alert us. It's our medical communications dispatch. They tell us nature of the call, usually just a quick glance, whether it be a fall, cardiac arrest, unknown, and then they'll give us an address. Sometimes they get more information ahead of time, other times they'll tell us all over now.
So you do get some advance notice of what you're getting into, or did I hear that right?
Most of the time.
Okay. And are you familiar, typically, again, this is general calls, not this call, where that information kind of comes from?
Where the information comes from specifically?
Yep, for the call.
So it varies. Dispatch usually gets some caller, whether it be a family member, a bystander, or even be a third party. So example would be life alert. Someone hits a button, that company gets the alert, they pass on the dispatch, not to us.
So information from an emergency call for services?
What's that?
Like an emergency call for services or of some variety, is that fair or?
Correct.
Does what information you receive affect your preparation or what you do before you get to the scene?
Yes, it does. Depending on what we receive, my partner and I will usually start thinking about all the different things that could be wrong, what we're going to do, who we're going to talk to, just start planning ahead from the time that we get to on scene to the time that we're loading up, as well as notifying the hospital if necessary ahead of time.
Now, are you considered, or the description you're talking about of what you were employed as and do and were trained to do, are you considered a first responder, or is that something different?
So first responder is kind of a general term. Anyone that responds to a scene, I usually refer to it as a first responder, so people that are there prior to EMS arrival.
Okay. What is it? Do you know what a first responder does generally? Do you interact with that group at all?
Yep. So first responders in this area that we generally respond with, they are at EMR, emergency medical responder level. They get the call right away. They're usually within the area and respond directly to the scene and do mostly like BLS care.
So now I'm moving to the particular call that you mentioned that you got on February 23rd, 2019. Do you remember what time you got that call?
Not without looking at the report. It was that morning, I know that.
Did you write a report?
I was not the one who wrote the report, but my partner.
Okay. I guess then who is your partner on that day?
So that day it was Dan Manigal, who was also a paramedic.
Can you spell that for the court reporter?
Daniel. So Daniel, D-A-N-I-E-L, Manigal, M-A-N-N-I-G-E-L, I believe.
So you indicated that you believe he wrote the report that day?
Correct.
Would you need to refresh your memory, not just in regards to the exact time you got the call, but to how long it took you to get on scene?
Yeah, I would, just to confirm.
The report that Dan Manigault prepared, do you have any involvement in that? I mean, do you review it or sign it or anything like that?
Yep, I am a co-signer.
Oh, okay. Would seeing a copy of that report help refresh your memory?
It would.
Limit number 60.
I am handing Salar what is being marked. Please let me know when you've had a chance to review it. Please let me know what it is you'd like to review. Otherwise, I'm going to keep Exhibit 62 up here so that you're not reading from it.
Okay.
Now that you've seen the report, does that refresh your memory as to the time?
Yep.
Can you tell us when you got the call that day?
It would have been 6:31 that morning.
And do you know when you arrived on scene?
We arrived at 6:41 a.m.
So, is that 11 minutes?
10.
10.
10 minutes and then 1 minute to the patient.
1 minute.
1 minute to the patient.
And did you or Mr. Manigault drive?
I would have been the driver that day.
Do you know where you would have been coming from?
That would have been Station 5 up in, right off of OT, up by Alaska, Holmen area.
OT, is that the highway or roadway or?
That's the cross, so it's OT and 53, it's right north of the McDonald's up there.
Station 5, is that a hospital or is that I guess what is Station 5?
So Station 5, we have different stations throughout the city. We have the south side, which is Station 2. Rock is our central location, and then Station 5 is our north side location. It's just an ambulance bay with quarters, houses 2 trucks, typically.
And when you say we, are you referring to Tri-State?
Correct.
Do you recall anything about road conditions on your way there?
Relevance. I think we went over this with the officers. I guess I'm not sure what the state's getting at.
I'll allow the question. If these questions have been asked before, go ahead.
So that day there was snow around. Road conditions were not that bad.
They were not.
Correct.
So the road conditions that day, did they or did they not impact how long it took you to get on scene?
We have awareness for any time there's snow on the ground, but it did not impact the time to get to the scene.
What did you do when you got, I keep referring to on scene, I'm referring to the residence you went to. What did you do when you got there?
So, being the driver, I got there, put in park, and went back to start getting the equipment. My partner met with, I couldn't tell you any off the top of my head who we met with. It was either law enforcement or first responders, or possibly both at the same time, and started discussing what was going on scene while I was getting equipment ready.
When you say equipment, what kind of equipment are we talking about?
In that case, from what we heard and what we were prepped for, backboard, monitor, and our jump bags for medication and advanced airway.
Do you recall what you knew going into this particular scene on this particular time?
It was a person that was down, not breathing, so we call that a code.
A what?
Code, cardiac arrest.
In the situation you just described, what do you do?
From the time that we get there, we'll go on scene, get to the patient, and start going through our algorithms, generally ABCs, airway, breathing, circulation, and just start working from there. So basic CPR, and then working our way as we get further along. We'll do ACLS, which should be your advanced cardiac life supporting measures, so IV medications, or defibrillation.
These algorithms that you just talked about, is that something you're trained to do?
Yes, it is.
I guess, is that something that all paramedics are trained to do? Are you able to answer that question?
No, I don't believe I can answer that. I anticipate that every paramedic and EMT would be trained that in a training center, but I can never guarantee that.
So what did you do after, I guess you get there, you get the equipment out, what happens next?
So my partner was already walking towards the patient. Are you talking the specific call?
Yes.
So he was walking up towards the patient. He was told by law enforcement to follow them very specifically, not to make extra trails or stepping out of place. I followed right behind with the monitor and equipment, and just got to the patient and started doing our first initial check. So that would have been checking for a pulse, just signs of life, anything like that.
Did you notice any signs of life?
Not initially, no.
Can you tell us what observations you made as you were doing what you just described?
So the patient's face was covered in snow. When we cleared the face off, there was some blood on the face, around the ears, and eyes were glossed over, very, very cold to the touch, and rigor at that point.
I'm not asking about this person. If a patient at this address were alive, breathing, however, I guess, where would you have taken that person? Or what would you have done next?
Sustain.
Are you familiar with what a hemothorax is?
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that, general?
Relevance.
Sustain, go ahead with your next question.
kind of equipment does your ambulance have?
So our ambulance will have typical equipment, so cot, scoop stretchers, different types of patient extrication equipment, a whole slew of different medications. Because we're a paramedic, or Tri-State's a paramedic health service, we were carrying advanced level medications, different types of breathing equipment, monitoring equipment. Yeah.
If a patient had blood or air compression in the chest,
Well, give him some leeway, go ahead and ask this question generally.
generally, if a patient had a air or blood compression in the chest cavity, what would you do in that situation? Or can you do anything? And if the answer is yes, what would you do?
And Judge, again, reserve the reference to objection.
In his field, he can answer, but only in that area. Go ahead.
So, as a paramedic, for any type of trauma like that, it would be chest needle decompression is what we would be able to do. And then further would be chest tube, which we wouldn't be able to do, but we can take as a transporting an interfacility.
Can you tell us what that is?
I'm going to sustain the objection. This is getting, sustained from my prior ruling earlier. Go ahead.
Are you familiar with where the nearest trauma center is in location to this particular scene?
Objection.
No, sustain. Keep on going.
No further questions.
All right.
No cross.
Thank you. Next step down. I'll call your next witness.